Hey, C-Milk.
Yo.
This stuff that's going on in Hong Kong is really getting out of hand.
You talking about the Star Wars thing?
I mean, not the laser. I love that Death Star thing they're doing, but no, you know, all these different protests and all the clashes with the police and all this sort of thing. A lot of my mainland friends are appalled. They don't understand why this is happening, and I think it's because they've probably never experienced the sort of right to protest before.
Yeah, I mean, like, a lot of mainlanders do go to Hong Kong all the time for shopping, but they don't ever see demonstrations that might, like, shock them. They might see some Falun Gong stuff or, like, freedom of speech in Hong Kong, all that kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, they don't see, like, big, huge uprisings like what's happening right now.
Yeah, you see, in mainland China, you're not actually allowed to gather in large numbers. It's kind of against the law there. And
Right.
I mean, it is against the law, yeah. And in fact, you know what this really reminds me of is the whole peer-to-peer thing. I think we should talk about that. What do you think?
Yeah. That's an example of a successful shutdown of a protest.
What do you know about peer-to-peer stuff? I mean,
Well, you talking about, like, LimeWire?
that was how I got introduced to the whole peer-to-peer concept, is through torrenting and stuff back in the day.
Yeah, even before those file sharing, like Napster
Yeah.
and stuff. That's the old dogs.
Yep. Anyway, the thing is, there's been this massive boom in China of peer-to-peer lending, like peer-to-peer lending schemes, as a form of investment, because, you know, we've talked about this a lot, how China kind of lacks investment options.
Mm-hmm.
So you either buy property. You really love those gloves.
I hate them so much. Alpine Stars, get your shit together.
Yeah, by the way, you know, guys, there have been a couple of episodes where C-Milk's not wearing gloves, and it's because he's so frustrated
I can't get it on. Anyway, continue talking.
Yeah.
I'll deal with this.
Anyway, the fact of the matter is,
hang up the goddamn phone.
stop damaging their infrastructure.
Well, this.
You'll get it ready. Anyway, because of the lack of options for, you know, investment, and let's be honest, people in China, they love money. They love.
Who doesn't love money?
I think they have a special love for money in China. I think
it's actually a form of worship.
it's a part
temples
of. It's literally part of the Chinese culture. You see those, like, fake money you buy, and, like, everything you put, all the couplets on your door and stuff. It's all about
Money, yeah.
bringing in money. So they got a special love for money. They got the money god, for goodness sake.
Yeah, they do.
Choi Som Do, Choi Som Do. You know, that's like that's the god of money.
It is.
Yeah,
Choi
we
Son
don't
Do.
have a money god, do we? In Christianity and
I'm
other
pretty
stuff.
sure the god of Mammon is like an arm of Satan. No, I'm
Okay.
serious. Like, it's
Okay.
evil, right?
Yeah,
It's a
probably.
sin. It's not something to worship.
Yeah. Anyway, so
I shouldn't say we.
yeah. I mean, I'm actually not very religious, and, you know, that's
I
just
didn't
the
know
way it
you
is.
were religious at all.
No, I'm not.
Do you want to open up today?
So anyway, the thing is, money is so important.
Mhm.
So they're always looking at ways, either gambling. I mean, you know, my father-in-law, he's always playing mahjong.
Dude, who doesn't play mahjong at that age in China?
Yeah,
Literally
everyone.
everyone.
And it's all about money. They're
Of
all about
course.
gambling and, you know, having fun. It's sport. Yeah. Anyway, that's why gambling's actually illegal in China, is because it's so much built into the culture that everybody does it, right?
Right.
And I have a feeling that the more you open that up, the more families will be destroyed, because everybody would just be out gambling their entire fortunes away.
I mean, yeah, you have situations where people die over mahjong because they'll owe money and they'll keep playing.
Yeah.
And they won't move, and then they'll send out the debt dudes to come knock on your door, basically,
Oh yeah.
and
it's
mess
pretty
you up.
bad.
Anyway.
Anyway, the thing is, this peer-to-peer lending thing took China by storm.
Right.
Something like 3,800 new companies or something along those lines, which is
Yeah.
like unprecedented in the world
Right.
when it comes to these peer-to-peer lenders. And you see the adverts everywhere
Right.
on social media and stuff. And people were like, yeah, this is great, it's infallible. And in fact, you know, kind of like the stock market, you even had the state encouraging people to invest. And like,
Right.
this is a state-backed peer-to-peer lending. And so
Right.
people are like, then we can't lose.
Right.
So anyway, the inevitable situation came where greed got in the way, and, you know, some of these companies, the people took the money and ran, and it's basically just a pyramid scheme at the end of the day.
Right.
And also, you know, China's got a very immature debt industry. You know, like in America, you need a credit history and stuff before you can take out a loan, and
Right.
you know, there's like quite a lot that goes into it. But in China, you know, if someone wants to buy a car,
Right.
they don't really have a debt history or credit history. It's like they just take a chance.
Right.
So, oops. We're supposed to throw our rubbish away, dude.
There's no bin.
Really?
No.
I call shenanigans. I'm sure there's a bin.
Well, you keep talking. I'm gonna put this stuff in our scooter.
Okay, cool.
Oh, there's a bin out here.
I think there's one over there as well. Okay, so anyway, so you get a lot of bad debt. You know, like these peer-to-peer lending companies will then lend money to someone to buy a car, and that person just doesn't pay it back because, you know, they're incapable or they don't want to.
Right.
And so then the money's lost.
Right.
Let's see, where's some rubbish? Rubbish bins.
There's lots of bins out here, dude.
Oh, outside? Okay. Oh, 在外面. Oh, 谢谢. 好，有时候. All right. Yes, anyway, so a lot of people lost a lot of money, and it's actually incredibly bad.
Right.
Oh man, Flygate 2012. You know, imagine I threw the keys in. I'm glad I didn't.
It's raining, so
great.
I don't know if we should ride.
Well, let's just kind of hash this one out here, and then we'll just hit this horrible rain.
Sure.
So what happened was a vast amount. Okay, it was actually the state came in and they were like, "Listen, we have to regulate this because this is getting out of hand."
Right.
And they put a whole bunch of checks and balances in, which weren't there before. And they said, like, you must, you know, check this, and we're going to do spot checks and all this kind of stuff.
Right.
And rather than try to comply because it was too difficult for most of them, what ended up happening is a lot of them just closed doors.
Right.
They were like, sorry, that's it.
Right.
And people lost huge amounts of money, like a lot of people. You know, they suppress this information simply because they don't want widespread panic.
Right.
But like, my family was affected. My wife lost a lot of money through this. So did her friends and her work colleagues, because they all kind of do it together and stuff.
Right.
And her family. And literally, like, everyone that I know actually lost some money on this peer-to-peer lending stuff. It's like almost everyone was doing it. Did your family get involved in that?
Vivi did it in the beginning a little bit, and then she pulled it out after she made a little bit.
Okay.
I don't know why. I guess I don't know. I feel like a lot of people, if you've gone abroad for any significant amount of time, you lose a lot of trust in China and the way things work there. So she's always wanted to, I don't want to air her dirty laundry, but always try to get money out. Just because you never know when it's going to go away, right?
Yeah.
And so these like harebrained schemes and stuff that spring up out of nowhere are almost guaranteed failure. I mean, you see the same thing in the West. So you had these crypto programs like BitConnect, right, where everyone lost everything. But BitConnect! The difference is these are very risky private companies that you go in knowing that. Whereas in China, like you said, a lot of these were called state-backed peer-to-peer lending schemes,
people didn't think that they could fail because the government's backing them, and like you've got high-up people saying like this is safe and stuff, so people do it.
And everyone got screwed over. But basically, the grand picture of this, the real shitty thing about this, is that obviously people are going up in arms. They're like, "Where's our financial security? How is the government going to prevent this from happening in the future?" Yeah, trying to air their concerns, but the media is being squashed. Basically, you're not allowed to talk about it. And the people trying to organize protests to protest about this, I don't think it's the fault of the government. No. For people's bullshit mahjong level schemes, like that's not the government's responsibility. But in China, they're going to point fingers, and they're pointing fingers at the government because these are supposedly state-backed.
It's not only that; it's the fact that they have this belief that the government is going to always bail them out. Right. You know, literally, like when the stock market crashed, everyone believed that the government would just give them their lost money back, and of course they didn't. And they have the same idea. There's that idea in the Chinese mentality that it doesn't matter what happens, the government will pay them back or fix it. It's just going to fix it, you know? Right. So there were massive protests organized, you know, online, but these online social media groups are being censored, like, on the fly all the time, whenever they would gather together. And there are stories, which you can read in the press, of for instance, one guy who was planning to come down to Beijing, and the local authorities contacted his office and told his boss to threaten the guy's job. Basically say, if you go to do this protest, then you're going to get fired.
Right.
And others that the family was told, make sure that your son or your husband or whatever doesn't go to Beijing. And then even better is because, you know, the whole travel system is linked to your ID card. You buy a train ticket.
Right.
People that were known to be wanting to come and protest were not allowed to buy airline tickets and train tickets, so to prevent them from coming.
Right.
You know?
This also ties into the whole like social credit score thing.
Yeah.
This is how they limit the movement and spread of information, is they don't let you go somewhere if you've done something unsavory to the government.
Sure,
right?
sure.
Yeah, funny thing, a little factoid before we finish this up, is actually there is due process, and there is in the Chinese Constitution the ability and right for every single citizen to be able to go to the front, you know, step to the government and appeal your case, right? Obviously, that's basically pointing a finger at yourself, saying that I am against you, and you're probably going to get screwed over later in life.
Sure,
but
it's a bad idea.
That right is being revoked for normal citizens trying to do this kind of stuff. Like pretty much all the bullshit freedoms that you heard about before are being wiped out anyway.
Yeah.
It doesn't really matter. But it's just kind of, it's funny to see people lose their money and watch this system kind of start to crumble, or at least the confidence in the system start to crumble these days.
Yeah,
something we haven't seen before.
The people that did make it to Beijing to protest, because there was a big protest planned, because a lot of people lost a lot of money. The ones that did make it were basically just put on buses and sent back to their hometowns as well. So, you know, it's worrying because it's a much bigger problem. A lot of people lost a lot of money. You know, mom and pop organizations, they put their entire life savings into these things and they lose it all. And, you know, it's like, there's some horror stories. You can read up on it, you know. People, of course, they're so angry that the news is getting out. But it's only trickling out because, you know, it's just being squashed everywhere. It's kind of worrying. Anyway, I thought we'd just talk about that, you know? Sure. And we should probably hit the road in this rain, so how about we head off and, you know, try and make a better day out of this rainy, terrible situation.
We'll do our best.
Yeah. You going to say anything to our subs before we sign off?
Whether you believe in the ability and right to be able to protest about something that bothers you, or you think that everyone needs to shut the hell up because they lost their money and it's their fault. Yeah. Either way, let me know what you think down in the comments below. Subscribe if you haven't yet, and give us a like if you like the video. Yeah, all right. And whether you believe in these harebrained pyramid schemes and peer-to-peer lending or not, we love you all the same. I would advise caution, like I did to my wife, but, you know, she lost money anyway, and she says I cursed her. It's a joke. But anyway, we love you all the same. And until next time, unlike peer-to-peer lending schemes, stay awesome.
Don't forget, every single Monday, another ADV China video right here, same time, same place. On Wednesday, you can check out LimeWire 86. 1 p.m. EST, and Friday, just in time for a beer going, check me out on my channel, SerpentZA.